Hey everyone, Troy Peterson, Mr. Bluegill, and you know we catch a lot of fish, we eat a lot of fish, and I get asked a lot on how I like to fry my fish. I have showed you guys my grilling recipe with the bluegills, works for the walleyes and whatever else you want to catch and grill as well. But probably one of my favorite and best recipes for frying fish is right here in front of us. And I'm going to cook up some walleyes, walk you through step by step, show you what you can do, and it is fantastic. So let's get started. A couple of things that we're going to need. Alright, so we're going to need some milk, we're going to need some eggs. This is kind of my favorite seasoning, whatever type of seasoning you guys want to use. That'll come in later. We've got our Kellogg's cornflake crumbs here. That's kind of important. Of course, we need fish. We need some flour, some sugar, and as we're getting things ready here, I got the oil kind of warming up. We're going to want to get that to about 375, 380 degrees or so. Alright, so the first thing you want to do, kind of lay out your area, get it nice and organized. There's a trick to breading the fish. You want to keep one dry hand and you want to keep one wet hand, and you'll see why here in just a couple minutes. But the first thing, you get one container here. We're going to put some flour in. The next container will have our egg and milk, and then our final will be our breading. So for breading, what we're going to do here is I'm going to put some cornflake crumbs in, and we're going to kind of 50-50 breadcrumbs and flour. Alright, kind of mix that around. It all depends on how crunchy you want. If you want a little bit crunchier, then use a little bit more cornflake crumbs. Now, a little bit of sugar here. That's probably about enough. And mix that in. That's kind of the secret ingredient. And then seasoning to taste. One of the biggest ingredients I think that kind of is real important to fish is white pepper. Something about white pepper in a breading works really good, tastes good. This is that, I think it's Slap Ya Mama. Get it from, I don't know, somewhere down south, Cajun guys down in Louisiana, but it's a white pepper blend. Add a little bit more, and it gives a little bit of a heat to it too as well. You can usually taste. I think that's pretty good. Done it a few times. Alright, so now we've got our breading, we've got our flour. The fish, you kind of want to leave your fish, you don't want them soaking wet, so I put them in a strainer here. As you can see, they'll just kind of dry off, and then I'll just lightly pat them dry before we get going. Egg wash, we're going to add some milk. And then just a couple eggs. Now, like I said, it's important to keep a dry hand and a wet hand. Have a sink close by or a bunch of paper towel. I'm going to take the fish here, just take some paper towel. And like I said, I just kind of pat it dry. And once that's somewhat patted dry, I'll throw that into the flour. Now the flour, the reason why I'm doing that is the flour will act kind of like the glue. That'll hold the breading on when we get ready to fry it here. Okay, so we're going to start with that. That should be good enough. So you're going to just kind of push or fluff the fish up here in the flour. And you see I've got one wet hand here and one dry hand. Okay, so start breading. We have a fillet that's pretty much coated with flour. And then we're going to take it, we're going to dip it in our egg wash, and then put it in our batter, our breading, kind of pat it down. Like so. And we'll just kind of make a pile here. And once you get going, you can move pretty quick. That should be enough here to, for all intents and purposes, to kind of show you guys. I'll finish the rest here later. Wet hand, dry hand, gooey, not gooey, but we're still going to rinse them off here in the sink. Okay, next important thing is make sure the oil is hot enough. I can't stress that enough. You know, the problem with a lot of restaurants and places I've gone and had fish is the fish is real oily. It's real soggy. It's because the oil doesn't get hot enough. You want to make sure that oil gets up to 375, 380, and then we're going to flash fry it. You know, what I mean flash fry is we're going to put it in there. Don't overcook your fish. You know, I keep my fillets, even if I get a big thick walleye, I will fillet those in half or thin them out so it cooks thoroughly, and that'll give you that real nice crisp on the outside. It'll be done on the inside, and it won't absorb the oil. So all you're really doing is using the oil for the heat. So we've got a few more degrees here before we put the fish in, and then we'll cook up some fish. Okay, we are looking good. We've got about 375 degrees. I'll set that guy back in there. And now you don't want to dump them all in there. You just kind of want to lay each one in there individually. And I'll put, depending on how big of a pot you have, obviously the more oil, the more it'll retain its heat. You know, put in half a dozen pieces or so, and it does not take long. That is the biggest thing, is don't overcook these fish. And you can tell when they're just about done is most of the water, the real hard sizzling that you hear is just water coming out of the fillet. When that's done, they are ready to eat. Like that. Alright, so now that you're done, you've breaded a whole bunch of fish. Don't throw out your breading. If there's still some in there, save it. All you got to do, get yourself a little colander, a little screen colander here. Take your breading, dump it in there, shake it, and what that'll do is all the egg wash and wetness will clump up, and you'll get the bad stuff that'll stay in there. Throw that out, put this in a Tupperware container, freeze it, and it'll be good for next time. You know, once you run down to almost nothing, yeah, then I'll toss it out. But that's it, pretty simple. Gotta try a little piece here. That's delicious. Right, Peters from Mr. Blue. We'll catch you guys on the water.